The NFL playoff is set. In the NFC wildcard round, the 6-seeded Lions face the 3rd-seeded Seahawks. The New York Football Giants, with the 5 seed, will take on the 4-seed Packers, and the Falcons will host the highest winning seed from the NFC wildcard round, and the NFC-leading Cowboys will host the lower seed. So the question is, will the number 1 seed Cowboys win the Super Bowl? My man.
Hell no. Let's just start it off right there. Let me be very, very clear to America. The Cowboys, this is supposedly America's team and the whole stuff, and we know we got Cowboy Nation out there. It's a big fan base. I want to go on the record. I understand that they're the number 1 seed. I understand that they got the dynamic duo as the rookies in Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. I understand the season that they've had. I get all of that. I just want to announce to the world right now, I don't care if it's the Titanic or whatever's going down. I'm going down with the ship. The Dallas Cowboys will not, I repeat, will not win the Super Bowl. They will lose. A matter of fact, I'm sitting here saying they ain't even winning the daggone playoff game. They ain't going to lose in 2 weeks because Detroit ain't beat Seattle. That means it's going to be the Giants or the Packers. All right, that means it's Aaron Rodgers or Eli Manning with OBJ or the whole crew. It does not matter. The Dallas Cowboys are going down. I'm going to start it off right now. We're going to get this out the way because I certainly don't want to spend my day talking about the Cowboys. I'll deal with them a little bit more later. But I want to be very, very clear on our debut. Right here on ESPN. Ain't nothing changed. Ain't nothing changed but the rent, all right? We're on ESPN now, not ESPN2, but Stephen A is Stephen A. Be
Still
very,
wrong.
very clear.
Still wrong.
Your Dallas
Just
Cowboys
because we go to ESPN
they ain't winning
doesn't mean
anything.
you start to be right.
Well, you know, I can be prophetic at times. We all know this. We all know this. But at the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys are not winning. And I want to make sure that I'm clear about that. Come February, when there's a Super Bowl champion crowned, it will not be those dudes with those stars in their helmets and playing in a $1 billion playpen with the most disgusting, obnoxious, delusional fan base in American history. They will not be celebrating. The Dallas Cowboys will go down. Actually, I'm thinking it's about the next 2 weeks, just like I said, to the Cowboys. I'm sorry, to the Giants or the Packers.
Well, yeah, the Giants can certainly beat them. They beat them twice during the regular season, although it's difficult to beat a team 3 times in the same season, divisional rival. But what strikes me is just because we moved from ESPN2 to ESPN, that doesn't change anything for you. You still want to be wrong on every debate.
Well, it doesn't change anything wrong for me because I'm omnipresent. I'm all over the place and I'm usually right.
You still want to catch these L's. You still want to catch these L's in every debate.
Whatever. I think you're a bit sensitive to the Cowboys.
The Cowboys, from wire to wire, have been the best team in the NFC, except for the matchup with the Giants. The Giants have their number, and again, it'll be hard to beat them 3 times if the Giants get there. They've been the best team in the NFC, wire to wire. The best point differential. They finished the year 3rd overall in the NFL, but they spent the most weeks as the best team in the NFC and tailed off a little bit at the end. 1, because they had to play the Giants, and 2, the game against the Eagles, they're rested. You know, Zeke doesn't get a carry. That's not the Cowboys. They got nothing to play for. Eagles didn't have their draft pick anyway, so they're highly motivated.
So you're giving them a chance?
The Cowboys should be the overwhelming favorites to get out of the NFC. And once they're there, I don't see where the Patriots, say, necessarily should even be favored in that matchup. Of course the Giants, Freudian slip, the Cowboys can win the Super Bowl. Of course they can.
Hold on. Am I listening correctly?
Yeah.
Is Max Kellerman telling me that the Dallas Cowboys should be the favorites, period, over everybody playing in the postseason? That the Dallas Cowboys should be the prohibitive favorites to capture the Super Bowl championship? I want you to be clear before you answer this question.
They should be the favorites of the NFC.
Before you answer this question, you have to go back to New York. Be careful with your answer. I mean, the people are watching. You're going to sit up here and say with a straight face, with no compunction whatsoever, with no hesitancy, with no apprehension or trepidation, you're going to say that the Dallas Cowboys should be the favorites?
Now, look, I am a Giants fan.
Go ahead.
Unlike you, apparently, I am an empiricist. That means when evidence comes in, I got to weigh it. It's got to affect my decision.
Oh, please.
You, my friend, on this topic, on the topic of the Dallas Cowboys, you are very religious. In other words, you have an undisprovable hypothesis.
That's true.
Your hypothesis is, if anything can go wrong, it will.
Right.
No amount of evidence can move you off that hypothesis.
May I answer that?
Therefore, it's with religious devotion that you say
I answer this? Because, you know, and listen, the mathematician himself, Spock Kellerman, the pragmatic individual that you are, there have been many, many times where you felt the need to try and educate me based on numbers, facts, and history. All 3 are in my... Hold on. all three are in my favor when it comes to me talking about the Cowboys. What numbers, what facts, what history disputes my proclamation that they are an accident waiting to happen? I'm talking about history.
Yep. Let's take the last 5 years. Let's take recent history.
The last 5?
Yep. 2011, they started using their first-round picks on offensive linemen. That's where the seeds were sown for this season.
I understand that.
And that really showed you when Stephen Jones started taking control of the franchise from Jerry Jones. There was no better example of that because they take Tyron Smith, they take Travis Frederick, and there was no better example of that than when Johnny Manziel was on the board and they took Zach Martin.
Here we go. Listen,
that's when the franchise
they probably heard the news that Johnny Manziel was at some bar and said we go chill.
You think Jerry didn't want him? Do you think Jerry wanted him?
Do you think Jerry wanted him? I think Jerry wanted him, but they had to guard themselves. Listen.
If anything could go wrong, it would.
Wait a minute. Have you ever heard of the White House?
Yes.
Not the White House in D.C.
Yes.
There's another White House.
Yes.
Okay, that particular White House. Does Johnny Manziel need to be there? I'm just saying. I mean, when you talk about motivation to make you hesitant, I mean, would not that be applicable? I mean, the point that I'm trying to make to you is this. Then you also said the last 5 years. Well, do you know that in the last 5 years the Cowboys only made the playoffs one time?
It takes time for an offensive line to come together.
I'm sorry, I thought that offensive line was supposed last year. I thought the offensive line was supposed the year before.
That's right.
They went
and then once that's there, you need to find your quarterback who can stay healthy. Dak Prescott.
Whoa. Tony Romo was healthy.
No, he wasn't.
Excuse me, he was healthy 2 of those 3 years when they went 8-8, lost the last game of the regular season.
And the team wasn't quite ready yet.
Was he playing when 2 years ago when they were 12 and 4 and they lost it? No. Max Kellerman gives Max Kellerman gives me numbers. He gives me facts and he gives me history. I just give it to you and now you're going to bring up now? When I bring up now, it's not good enough. But when you bring up now, it's okay.
Right. When I say it, it's better. That's exactly
right. That's all right. That's okay. Look, go ahead.
Right now, we're talking about right now. The Cowboys, if what you're saying is true, would have taken Johnny Manziel instead of Zach Martin. That's a Cowboys-type move. That's a Jerry Jones getting in his own way type move. This franchise has changed. Stephen Jones has much more control. He's made very good decisions, and they're the favorites in the NFC.
I just want to be clear because you're the one that got you got to go back to New York too. So I just want to be clear. The Giants fan that is Max Kellerman is drinking the Cowboy sauce, the Cowboy Kool-Aid. That's what we're doing, right?
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. If the Giants play the Cowboys...
That's where I'm going. Hold on.
They got to get by Green Bay.
I'm going to your point. If the Giants...
Yeah.
Because you're picking the Giants to beat Green Bay because you're a Giants fan.
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see. I like that. I'm very, very proud of you on that. Here's the point. If the Giants beat the Packers...
Yeah.
Then they play the Cowboys,
which
will be the Cowboys' first playoff game of this season. And I know you ain't picking the Cowboys to beat the Giants, which means that the Cowboys might not end up winning a playoff game, which would just be so beautiful. It would just touch me.
Just a quick math lesson. I know you're an educated man. Let's say the Giants are 60% likely to beat the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
That makes them a nice little favorite. And let's say I also believe they're 60% likely to beat the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. What are the odds that they actually beat the Dallas Cowboys? That's 60 times 60. That's 36%. That's under 50-50. See how it works? I think they'll beat Green Bay. I think they have a good chance to beat Green Bay. That is a tough matchup because of Aaron Rodgers. If they do, I think they have a good chance to beat the Cowboys better than anyone else, as good as the Cowboys are, although they played 2 very close games that could have gone either way. Very tough to beat a team 3 times. But the odds that both of those things are going to happen are less likely than they are likely.
I got you. So you're giving me odds.
Empiricism.
All I know is he said Dallas is the favorite in the NFC.
And I'm saying to you, I'm not even the empiricist to you. I'm not even getting on you about that. What I'm getting on you about is that history, numbers, facts are what you usually lean on, but I'm using it now and you getting on me because you want to stick to the present day. See, I'm just watching the switch. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say.
First take on ESPN, just getting started. Coming up, more bets have been placed on Green Bay to win the Super Bowl than any other team at multiple Las Vegas Superbooks. Green Bay is a 4.5-point favorite against New York. Stephen A. Smith.
Yes.
The discount double check, the biggest threat to Dak and
Without question. Aaron Rodgers. You know why? Because he's a bad man. That's why. Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. Aaron Rodgers on that 6-game winning streak, telling you what he was going to do and then going out there and doing it. Now, I got to give props for Tom Brady for the MVP, considering all the adversity he came through, overcame, 18 touchdowns, just one interception over the last 7 weeks since that loss in Seattle. But let's not get it twisted. I believe Aaron Rodgers to be the greatest talent at the quarterback position I have ever seen. That's what I believe about Aaron Rodgers. And this dude, having won 6 straight, going up against the New York Giants, who, by the way, can't average 20 points to save their life, haven't scored 20 points in about 6 weeks. Now, their defense is no joke, and I give credit where credit is due to Reese and the crew with DRC and Jenkins and all of these boys, Janoris Jenkins, and even Eli Apple to a lesser degree. But the bottom line is this. Even though defense ultimately propels you to championships, offense wins games, I'm just not feeling Eli. There's something that's wrong with Eli. He doesn't seem to be that dude. Now the playoffs, the offensive
playoff Eli.
Excuse me. Hey, I know what I'm saying. I know that he can step up. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm going to go by what I see. And this is what I'm saying, Max. He's rolling up against Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't care what anybody tells me. You're going to have to see, you have to show me that you can go on the Lambeau Field and knock off Aaron Rodgers. This happened before. Doesn't mean it can't happen again. But I got to see it to believe it. And I'm telling you right now, listen, Aaron Rodgers is not to be underestimated in any way. That's who I would, if I had to bet my money, I'm hoping the Giants win. If I had to bet my money, it's going to be on that bad man.
You know, a lot of people have talked about the Atlanta Falcons being the toughest threat for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to have to go with Green Bay because of how hot they are offensively, but I've talked about it before. Their defense has elevated their game enough where I think we're not focusing on how well they've been playing in the secondary. Now, as far as pass rush and being able to clog up running lanes, that will be a different story versus the Dallas Cowboys. But I look at it in the sense when they're playing against the New York Giants, we can talk about Eli, playoff Eli, but what we've seen over the last 8 weeks, it hasn't been pleasant, so to speak, because now you take out Odell Beckham, and it seems like he doesn't know how to throw the ball, or even though his receivers on the outside. Shepard is a pretty good wide receiver. Now, Victor Cruz, he gets missing at times. I don't know if it's because his relationship with Eli, or he doesn't trust him, whatever it may be, but they finally found a run game and being able to put Perkins in there. Now, Jennings, I thought he was a little slower hitting the hole. Now, Perkins can hit the hole and give you an option, but as far as the quarterback is concerned, you only go as far as your quarterback takes you. Eli, to me, is a turnover waiting to happen, or he'll find a big explosive play to Odell Beckham. Now, if you double Odell Beckham and force him to go somewhere else, it works in your favor. But when you look at the Green Bay Packers and what they've been able to do, running the football, play action game, Aaron Rodgers with the off-schedule plays, getting outside the pocket. Their offensive line has been blocking well for Aaron Rodgers. I think this is the one in which I think Dallas does not want to play Green Bay, especially if they go in and play the New York Giants very well and have to play them in that second game. That might be a tougher matchup than anyone gives.
If we're talking about Green Bay and New York, I agree. As a Giants fan, I hate playing the Packers in this game, especially on the road, especially the way Aaron Rodgers is playing. However, Eli is going to light up that secondary, and the reason you're talking about without Odell, he doesn't even seem to know where to throw the ball, is because the Giants have missed so badly on the offensive line in recent years. Forget about Beatty and all that stuff. Eric Flowers, that was a first-round pick, a high pick. Every single play, it's either someone's getting to Eli or he gets called for a hold.
He
has no time to throw
You
a ball.
are officially costing this guy money, Flowers. I mean, you bring him up every day. I mean, you're going to get this guy fired.
Look, he's 22 years old. There's time to improve, but it looks to me like maybe on the right side of the line eventually, not the left. I just got to tell you, I'm rooting for him. I just got to tell you what I see. So I agree with you about that matchup. But let's talk about who poses the biggest threat to Dallas. That means, is it Green Bay, should they win, or the Giants, should they win? The answer is the Giants. First of all, the most obvious thing is the Giants beat them twice. Now, I mean, that already happened. So the only argument against that is you're not going to beat a team 3 times. But the Giants have shown, and the Eagles' loss doesn't count. They had nothing to play for. When Dallas still had stuff to play for, the Giants were the only team in the NFL who had a shot at them, and they didn't beat them once. They beat them twice.
Wait a minute, did you say the Philadelphia Eagles game didn't mean much?
7 drops.
No.
That was bad.
No.
I thought you were talking about the Giants.
So what happened in Washington?
How many?
What just happened in Washington?
Exactly. By the way, that's how good the Giants defense defense is right now. Even the Washington
about offense?
What about the offense?
That's the question that we need to figure out.
Giants didn't have
what
anything
about
to play
the
for
offense?
either, Donovan.
So they had nothing to play for, so all of a sudden, what, Eli just gonna go out there and just throw the ball in?
My point is, Eli doesn't have time to throw. Your criticism of the Giants' offense is correct. That may have an effect against Green Bay. But they've already shown that their offense is good enough to beat Dallas twice. So who poses the biggest threat? Obviously, the team that's already beat you twice. And the New York Giants defense is arguably right now the best defense in the NFL.
What I think you're missing is that familiarity sometimes can be the devil in disguise. And what I mean by that is that if you are the Dallas Cowboys, the fact that you've played against this team, even though they beat you, each was a highly contested matchup. It wasn't a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. It could have gone either way. Now they're the #1 seed. They're on their home turf. You've beaten them. They've seen what you can throw at them. They're more familiar with you, which is why it's so difficult. Not to mention the fact, what is the alternative? The alternative, Max, is for that defense, even though it's been impressive under Marinelli, even though it seems to be upgrading or what have you. The bottom line is you going up against one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've ever seen, who's a surgeon out there who can pick anybody apart. And everybody's raving about whether it's DeMarcus Lawrence, it's the Randy Gregory's of the world and others who are in that lineup. When you're throwing people back into the mix, trying to get those fresh bodies, sometimes that chemistry can get disrupted. And I don't think that's to be underestimated.
We shall see.
Not what's the Green Bay Packers defense?
We in
Dallas. Come on.
We got you.
So good to see you, as always.